What's up, Vankas?
Hello, Venkas.
How is everybody doing?
How are you doing? Are you taking a much-needed break from this chaos that is Formula One? After this last race, Matt, I needed a sec. I needed a second to catch my breath.
Why? And think about what? The state of your life? I don't want that. Who wants that?
I just,
Give
after
me Canada. Fast forward. Put me in a coma until Canada.
This is the Red Flags brought to you by BetMGM. We're going to be covering all things Max Verstappen, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, Lance Stroll, the wrist. Are we believing the Pravda or not? All this and more. Once again, the Red Flags brought to you by BetMGM. But of course, we're going to start with Max Verstappen. I just think it was a good ending. It was the good end of this little chapter. Max Verstappen crashing into George Russell. Now people saying no, I don't actually think he did. Well, he didn't really. And I'm sorry. In what world did he not intentionally do this?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you like Max, you accept. You also think he's the best driver in the world. So if he's the best driver in the world, then only a bad driver would do that by accident, right? So it doesn't. So there's some real cognitive dissonance going on. I mean, I think it goes to. I mean, it really is fascinating. It speaks to the state of our world, right? That if you back somebody, they're your guy, and they can't do anything wrong, and there's just no room for nuance. I don't understand. You talk to people about anything, right? Sports, politics. If they got a guy or a subject, there's just that they're just all in on that guy or that cause or that whatever. And there's just no room for any sort of daylight or nuance. It's really quite interesting. And that's why I love F1, because who cares if there are people just in the sunken place with Max Verstappen and think that it was by accident. It just gives you a very pain-free insight into humanity that doesn't cost anything.
Right. I guess I'm just I'm a Max fan. I love Max. But you can also acknowledge what happened. I don't even necessarily think it's that horrible of a thing. I mean, yeah, it's not great, shouldn't happen, blah, blah, blah. But in the heat of battle, you throw a guy into the boards a little bit hard. You throw your gloves down. You get in a little scrap. Senna did this. Schumacher did this. This isn't uncharted territory with the greats. The guys who are the most competitive will sometimes go over the limit. Max even admitting, read between the lines. Max Verstappen saying something happened that shouldn't have happened. That is Your Honor, I did it. It was me. I'm guilty. I mean, this is, the hand-wringing around this thing is interesting. I'm just no. He was pissed off. The situation happened with Leclerc. The more that's being looked at, it seems like people are more and more under the, feeling that with Leclerc going on to the clean side of the track down that straight actually maybe was something that maybe should have been penalized or looked at more heavily. George overtaking him in that way, actually in the grand scheme of things, when they actually looked at it, said, well, no, Max shouldn't have had to keep the place back. So Max was, in certain ways, justifiably angry, told to give the place back. But let's not pretend the greatest driver in the world going onto the fucking throttle, going into that corner, was not him running into George Russell. That's just what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah, but even that is ridiculous. It's the guy committed a murder, and then people are going back and saying, well, he had a really hard day that day, right? He got cut off in traffic. He didn't get the promotion he wanted, and that wasn't... It's the guy committed it doesn't justify the murder, right? And here's the other thing. Nobody else gets the benefit of well, let's back up and see how he started his day, right? Nobody did that for Kevin Magnussen. Nobody did that. Nobody was well, let's get into his mind and really examine step by step. This idea that we need to roll back the tape so we can like empathize with him to justify what he did.
Right.
It's just an amazing amount of grace that nobody else would get.
Yeah.
Well, put yourself in his shoes. He had just had this. He had just had that. Like, well,
and he wins, and he's not winning now, so that's bad. And we feel bad. He was win, now he no win, and so we feel bad. It's like, what is?
You know who else doesn't win? You know who else hasn't been winning? Literally everybody else on the grid. Yeah. Literally everybody else on the grid. They have been in his position. So, like, he is now in the position that everybody else has been. So, by the way, I like Max. I like Max, but to be like, well, you got to understand, he's not winning anymore. Nobody wins. Nobody has won. Oscar Piastri has not won a WDC in his whole life, except for the Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso 20 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody else has won.
Right.
So to say, you got to, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, but things have been bad at Red Bull, and this is, man, and listen, it is Max. And you can choose to love him anyway, which in some ways I still do. I don't think that this is like, oh, well, now I can't ever support Max Verstappen again. But let's not like pretend like what happened didn't happen. At the end of the day, he ran into George Russell on purpose. George Russell wasn't taken out of the race. Max has a beautifully unique ability to run into someone and not like take both cars out of the race. He's able to like punch you in the dick and not have there be any blood in your piss. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like, he's able to do that. But that is what happened. This 10 seconds that they gave him for this, act is, to me, ridiculous. That is the precedent being shown. What's to stop something happening later in the season from happening like that and being like, well, you gave, I get a drive-through penalty now? What about what happened with Max? What about that? Like, this is now.
But Brian, Charles Leclerc touched him 3 laps earlier, so that's a mitigating circumstance. That's a mitigating circumstance. Could you imagine? Nobody ever did if Kevin Magnussen runs someone off the road, no one ever goes, well, you got to understand something. His father was an F1 driver and was not around in his life. Okay, people think he was a nepo baby. Actually, he wasn't a nepo baby. His father kind of like was impregnated K-Mag's mom when they were like 18 or 19. And Kevin Magnussen's dad was like, you know what? I'm not ready for this, and kind of bailed. So Kevin Magnussen has all this resentment and all these complicated feelings about his father. And then he was tapped to be McLaren's next guy. He gets a podium in his first race, and then Ron Dennis gets fired, and he's got no rabbi. And then then it all goes downhill, and he goes from being number 1 to last on the list. He kind of has this season where he's a reserve driver and he's drinking all the time, and now he's at Haas, and he's got all this, like, he could have been great, but it never really worked out. He didn't have that role model to be. He picked the wrong managers. He didn't have that role model like to really guide him, like a Carlos Sainz Sr.
Right.
So true. He didn't have that. So you can really understand. No, he got none of that. Right. It's just like, wow, K-Mag's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You could do that with anybody.
Psycho. He shouldn't be an F1. That guy just,
he shouldn't be an F1. He's a fucking psycho. But
he's too much.
So yeah, I mean,
now the thing
crazy.
The thing that is happening now is that Max is 1 point away from a race ban. He's got 11 points on his license. You need 12 to get a race ban. Now, 2 of these points go away after the Austrian GP. So he's got Canada and Austria, Red Bulls at the Red Bull Ring. He's got to get through these 2 races clean in order to not get a race ban. In order for like that debt to just go down a little bit, to buy him a little bit of time, to get an extra life in the video game, he's got to have 2 clean races. Now the question is, will Max Verstappen have 2 clean races in Canada and in Austria? Helmut Marko was like, you need to, because it's going to be a very bad look if in Canada you get into some tussle and you're not even going to race in Austria at our home track. But the question is, will Max Verstappen be able to kind of contain himself for these next 2 GPs in order to not get that race ban?
If he does, it'll be luck, because what is Helmut going to do? What are they going to do? You better be not race the way you've always raced, or else what?
Yeah.
Or else what? What are you going to do without him?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? What the fuck? He is your entire team. He has like all of your points.
He has 137 of your 144 points. What are you going to do?
Like, shut the fuck up. You put your all of your chips are in the Max Verstappen. He's got all the leverage. What are you going to punish him? Oh, if you get a race ban in Austria. What's going to happen? What are you going to do to me? I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Like, what do you do? Fire him?
I built this house. There's
crazy.
There's 2 people that built this entire program on the driver's side.
One of them's already gone.
One's gone, and is fucking hanging out with
bumblebees. I thought you were going to say Newey.
Oh, well, there's Newey too, but in terms of on the driver's side, one is hanging out with some bees in Germany. The other one is in Aston Martin talking shit about his own team. And then I'm the only thing that's fucking left here. The other one, Christian Horner's, apparently there's rumors he's talking to Ferrari, though he shot those rumors down, but that's interesting that those rumors were even out there. What are you going to do? No, I mean, I've said it before, I think that Max has a very good shot at winning in Canada. I think it's going to be a track that's going to benefit the Red Bull, a la Imola, a la Japan. If Max has a chance to win this race and he maybe needs to, shove Oscar Piastri or Lando Norris off the track a little bit, you think he's really not going to do that because he might get a race ban in Austria? Of course he's going to do that.
Yeah, he might just take a penalty just to get clean air or whatever the fuck. And here's the other thing. I think once you get a race ban, you're back down to 0.
Right.
So
is it better to drive Max, scared for 5 races in a row or just get it out of the way?
Get it out of the way. Give me the ban.
Let me respawn.
Exactly. With a fresh credit score. Because right now he's got a shitty credit score. He can't do anything. He can't buy a car. He can't buy a house. He can't get a loan. Just let me respawn. I get a new credit, get a nice 800 credit score, and I'm back in business. That's what I would do, because I would hate this sort of Damocles hanging over me. I'd be like, just let me serve my time now.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I would do. So if I were him, I'd be like, I get to lose 2 points, gain 2. Just like, let me just wipe the slate.
Yeah.
Because this season's kind of a bust anyway. I know I've been saying that he's got a chance at this championship, but he's got to think big picture. I would just get rid of all these points if I were him. But maybe I'm crazy.
No, I mean, I hear that. I think even after Spain, he was saying, who cares if I crash into George? This thing's out of my hands anyway. It's beyond the pale. I mean, Callum Nicholas, friend of the pod, former mechanic for Red Bull, said that, he thinks that Max is going to come back this season, win the championship, and then retire. But I think that's just a guy who hasn't been in the pit lane for about 6 months. Little bit out of his ace.
As somebody who's been saying Max is still in this, look.
Yeah.
It's a game recognized game. Like, I've been saying Max is in this because I want to say the thing that might get attention, and I actually believe it.
Yeah. Do you still believe
it? If I just say
the question. The question is, do you still believe that? Where are you at with the Max still being in this? Because I've been off it from pretty early. Gunter's been off it, but you've been the last one holding onto the.
I just feel like it's disrespectful to rule him out, and maybe it's I've been burned before with the this is Lando's championship to lose,
right.
Blah blah blah. It's really Lando that got the better car, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. I haven't seen these guys put together a whole season yet. So Max to me is still the guy until proven otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So Oscar Orlando and McLaren, they got to prove it to me before I switch. Max still got the championship belt. They haven't taken it from him yet. So I just feel like it's disrespectful to rule him out. Now, that being said, he took it one step further. Like, not only is he going to win, he's going to win and he's going to fucking drop the mic and he's going to leave. Like, that to me seems like clickbait.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Which I respect.
Yeah.
I respect. He's doing what I'm doing, but he's even taking it even farther.
Right.
So
he's zagging.
What he's zagging to my zag. Now,
right.
So when this podcast is over, I'm going to like literally take a rope and go, idiot. Why didn't you think of that? Like, because that's even better. Like, I'm like, he's going to win this shit. It's even better to say he's going to win this shit and he's going to fucking sail off into the sunset. Just you watch.
Bankers, this episode is brought to you by BetMGM. Come see what's new at BetMGM. Score bigger when you win with boost tokens, odd boost tokens, and more. Even if your bet doesn't hit, we've got you covered with no sweat tokens. Sign up with BetMGM today and you'll have access to countless betting options, including new look, same game parlays, teasers, live bets, and so much more. Take advantage of these offerings and be sure to use the bonus code DADDY when signing up to receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet loses. This is an exciting season. Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, who's going to finish? Who's going to win each race? Where's Yuki Tsunoda going to wind up? You can bet on all this with BetMGM, so do it today. Use the bonus code DADDY when signing up, and again, receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet loses. See you out there, Vegas.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 for New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 for Massachusetts. 21 and over only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP for Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF for Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 for Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I think will be obviously something to watch. That is the kind of talking point of this whole thing. That's why I enjoy the week off afterwards, because it's kind of like the fire happened. We get to kind of pick through we get to pick through the debris, see what the fuck happens, see what it was. It was a great kind of like ending point. Give us this week off, come back in Canada. Let Max maybe win this race, maybe get a penalty, not race in Austria. There's a lot going on. Beyond the Max Verstappen, Red Bull of it all, obviously it's been a tough week for Lewis Hamilton in Ferrari. After the race, he was kind of said it was the worst weekend that he's had in a long time, maybe ever. Said the car has never felt worse, was kind of taking it on the brow, saying, maybe it's the car, I don't know, maybe it's me. He was really on a Lando Norris kind of kick, saying maybe I suck, maybe I'm the problem, it's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. I've been thinking about this a little bit, and part of me is a little bit, with regards to Ferrari, with regards to Lewis at Ferrari, with regards to this car that is really the third, maybe fourth best car on the grid. Part of me is just like, who gives a shit how you're running this year? The regulations are about to. If I'm like, I put my Lewis hat back on for a second, and I was like, Lewis, stop being so hard on yourself. You've never liked this engine regulation. Next year, you're going into a different engine reg set that actually might benefit you more. Smaller cars, maybe less, no ground effect, maybe a little bit more of the era where you were dominant. And yeah, he's had gaps to Leclerc, but he was on a shittier strategy. Leclerc made a smart move. Didn't use his extra tires in qualifying. I just think that like there's a lot of hubbub around Lewis. And listen, maybe next year will be the true litmus test. And I think if I'm a Lewis fan, I just like stop freaking out right now. Just wait until 2026 before you write this guy off. I'm not writing him off yet.
I don't think you should write him off, but I think it's really hard to take a 10,000 foot view of your own life and your own performance. I mean, we do it ourselves. Like when we look at the analytics for our podcast and we're like, we only grew like 200 downloads, or it's going nowhere. We're blah, 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 blah. And then we like, well, where were we last year? Oh, well, last year we were here and this year we're here. We've actually grown a lot. But like day to day, week to week, you're like, when you're feeling the slings and arrows of just the grind of like, we're up, we're down, we're up, we're down. I mean, you're trending upwards, but like it doesn't feel that way. Or you're not necessarily seeing like, well, 4 years ago you were kind of getting stimulus checks and, you know, like whatever the fuck. Like, it's hard to have perspective when you're, and like, not to compare myself to Lewis, like this guy's even in a higher place, exponentially higher, exponentially more competitive, you know, wants to win everything all the time. Like when you're in the day to day of that space, it's really hard to be like, well, you know, I'm going to wait till next year. You know, that's just not how I mean, same thing with Max. It's not how this guy's built. This guy wants to win. This guy wants to win now. This guy is losing to his teammate. It's hard to detach yourself. And also, I mean, he's one of these guys that has been a lot like Lando his whole career, and it's worked out for him. Mm-hmm. It's almost like he's almost like that. Your girlfriend was like, "Oh, I look terrible in this outfit," and you're like, "No, you look amazing." Right?
Yeah.
Like very like almost like fishing for compliments.
Right. Yes.
Like just throwing off negativity and getting people to flock to them. Like, you know, where he's saying, you know, my tires are dead, or this is the worst thing ever, and you know, then the radio engineer Bono would come in and is like, no, you got this. This is good. You got this under control.
Right.
And Ferrari, they don't really do that so much. They haven't really learned. Like Lewis is like, maybe, do I look fat in this outfit? And it's like, well, maybe. I mean, do you feel fat?
Yes.
Do you feel fat? Like,
it's like,
sometimes,
well, have you stepped on the scale recently?
Yeah,
like, what
like
are you?
Maybe
fat
you have
or
gained
like,
weight.
where are you? Yeah.
Like Bono would be like, you're not fat. You're the most snatched motherfucker. Like these bitches are dying to fuck you. Like you are slay boots the house down queen. Like they just tell him what he needs to hear, which is you do not look fat in this outfit. Yeah. Ferrari's like, well, you haven't been to the gym in a long time. Like, exactly.
When was the last time you went to the gym?
Where was the last time did you get on the scale? Have you been tracking your macros? You know? And he's like,
it's so true. I feel like and I think this is the going into next year, right? You want to set yourself up for success in the new engine regs, where like maybe there's, you know, we're shaking up the board. And I think the thing to kind of I think for what Lewis's goal and what Ferrari's goal should be this year should not be like, are we winning now? Are we winning now? It's like, no. This is the time to build the foundation upon which you hope to build the house. And right now, I feel like Riccardo Adami, his engineer, is not the man for this job. He is not the man to like, this is uneven ground. And Lewis needs a hype man. Lewis needs someone who is going to build him up. It's what Nico Rosberg said. We were talking about on the podcast that Nico Rosberg said that that's not the way you talk to your driver. You tell him like, this is the perfect tire to be on. Lewis needs to be like built up. He needs that encouragement. You can do this. You're amazing. Like Lewis is a positivity king.
He needs some guy in his ear telling him that he's the shit. And
his love language is words of affirmation. Lewis needs those words of aff.
Yeah.
Oscar Piastri doesn't need words of aff.
Oscar Piastri is like a fucking feral cat. You just leave like some tuna. There are these cats in LA, you know, that I used to live in my neighborhood. These people used to leave tuna out for them.
Right.
And they just come, they eat the tuna, and they don't want to be pet. They don't want to be fucked with. Just give me my tuna.
Acts of service. Just do what I need you to do for me to do what I need to do. Max Verstappen, not a words of aff guy. I think Lando Norris, words of affirmation. These are the love languages. I think we should maybe do a Patreon episode where we go through each driver and decide what their love languages are.
Didn't we do that once upon a time?
Well, guess what? We got a whole bunch of new drivers on the thing, and it's been we've had this Patreon for a while, baby, so we could run it the fuck back. But yes, I think that, this is the time for Ferrari where it should be like, let's become a team right now. Let's figure out how we do this. Because if it's just like, this is how we do it, and it's time for you to get on board, it's like, that's not what's going to work. You need to figure out the recipe for Lewis being successful in red for this thing that you've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on to work.
Yeah, I think Ricardo's the problem is they've been building foundations for a long time now.
With Charles Leclerc.
I mean, they haven't won since, 2007?
Yeah, I mean,
that
they're
was
a mess.
basically handed to them? It was basically handed to them? They shouldn't have even won that one. 2008, I think they won the constructors, but they lost the drivers. I mean...
Yeah, they arguably should have won both, but yes. No, they haven't. They have not been good in almost 20 years, in a real way. They haven't won anything in nearly 20 years. And I feel like that's what the focus really should be on. Not like, if Lewis had done everything perfectly, maybe he would have gotten third place. Who gives a shit? Who cares about third place? You're Ferrari. You're Lewis Hamilton. Build the foundations of the house that can actually win the championship. Otherwise, what are we doing here? And if this car's not there, then who gives a shit if he's got a 0.3 delta to Leclerc. Right. The car can't win a race. Who cares?
You're right. The narrative shouldn't be, oh my God, why can't Lewis scrap for third instead of Charles? It should be like, why is Ferrari never win? Why do they never win? Because honestly, if Lewis was beating Leclerc, let's just say Lewis was beating Leclerc, and he was scrapping for third and was getting the occasional podium. I know I know he won a sprint race in China. So like sometimes when the planets are aligned and he gets his setup right and everything is good and he's not feeling down and he believes in himself, and yes, he could be the best driver in the world. We all know that. Yeah. But most of the time this season, it hasn't been the case. But let's just say for the most part, he was beating Leclerc and scrapping for third. Which is where Leclerc is living, third, fourth, fifth. The narrative would be different. I think the narrative would be like, well, Ferrari's dropped the ball.
Right.
Lewis is wasting his time at Ferrari.
Yes.
He's still great, and he's going to piss away the rest of what's left of his career at this team that is failing him. And maybe there'd be some murmurs about, Leclerc isn't as good as we thought he was type shit. Right. But I think that would be the main narrative. And I think Lewis struggling against Leclerc might actually be kind of a blessing for Ferrari, because he's taking so much heat. So much attention is like, he's not getting on with the car. I'm like, well, even if he did get on with the car, Leclerc's telling us that the car isn't that great. Because if Leclerc's the ceiling ain't that high.
Yeah.
Ceiling ain't that high. So what's he missing out on? He's not missing out on much.
Exactly. I think that he's taken a ton of heat off of Ferrari, but that's where the heat should be. The heat should still be on the car, on their inability to produce a car that really wins races. Apparently, they threw out that this car, I think Fred Vasseur said it only has 1% in common with 2024's car. So they came in and they did a whole bunch of fucking revamps on this 2025 car, and guess what? They haven't worked. So
that's that must be a really shitty 6% or whatever, 1%. Or however, that 1% must.
Well, maybe that's the only part that's good. Last year, at the end of the year, they were the second best team. Sometimes trading with McLaren.
But that's Ferrari's whole thing, is they always throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? I mean, what's fascinating is, I think if you had the Ferrari's upper management now in the 90s, I don't know if they would have won all those titles because when Luca de Montezemolo hired Jean Todt, like they sucked for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And then here's the other thing that people don't remember. They brought Schumacher in like, I don't know, 95 or 90. No, he won in 95 and 96. They brought him in
96, 97. Yeah.
96. Jenny, can you look up when Ferrari,
Ferrari.
When was Michael's first year at Ferrari? Just text it in the chat, please. Okay, so he came in 96. He didn't win until they didn't win 2000. Until 2000, right?
I think 2000.
When was his first title at Ferrari? 2000? 2000. Okay. So 96 didn't win, 97 didn't win, 98 didn't win. So they had 4, and then he broke his leg. And then
99 he could have won, but he broke his leg. Yeah.
I mean, so they had 4 years.
Yep.
And Todt got there like a few years earlier. So Todt was there like 94, 95. Mm-hmm. So Todt was there like 5 years, nothing. And they just kind of stuck with it. They didn't change. They didn't. Right. So like, think about that. Could you, Matt? Like, I don't think if they don't win, I don't think Fred's lasting 5 years. I don't think Binotto. How long did Binotto last? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, but yeah, he was on the team for a long time. But yeah, as team principal, not long.
Right. So it's like
even bringing in Lewis to an extent is like, Lewis is pushing 40. Like, Lewis doesn't have 7 years to give to the organization. There's kind of like we bring in Lewis because like we think we can win in the next like 2 years, but like you need to pick a lane. You got to stick with it. I say this as a Knicks fan who wanted Tom Thibodeau gone, but I think that Ferrari, they're back and forth. They're all over the map. And yeah, they need to like have a philosophy, stick with it, adjust where you need to adjust. But it's funny because it's like in certain ways they're so back and forth, and the thing that they're stubborn about is their like process. They're like, this is how we do shit. We have 10 cooks in the kitchen. It's the Ferrari way. In certain ways, they're very rigid about how they do things, and then in other ways, they're totally like flighty. They're like, they see a new pretty thing and they just want to chase after it.
Well,
which
yeah,
you can
Lewis
argue
is
that
like
this signing with Lewis was. You had
it's
Leclerc,
a win
you
now.
had Sainz,
it's a win now.
two
move.
young guys. It's a win now move, and but they're not winning now. So I think, it's really looking like next year, Mercedes is going to have the car. Lewis is going to be stuck at Ferrari. George Russell might win this championship, and Lewis Hamilton will never get the 8th. That is like, what a fucking shitty spot to be in. And it's not because Lewis doesn't get along with the car. It's because the car is just not there.
Well, we'll never know, probably. Because
who knows? We'll never know because the car won't be there. If the car was there, maybe we would see what happens with Charles and Lewis, but we'll never even get to see that. We'll never even get to see it.
Yeah, but we've seen this before, right? I mean, a lot of champions hang on longer than they should.
Totally.
And who knows? I mean, we saw this with Michael Schumacher and Mercedes, right? They hang on a little too long. Although a lot of people say that Schumacher was instrumental in getting that team because he was great at giving technical feedback and helping them and bring that team to another level in terms of being professional. And a lot of people say that from what I've read that Lewis Hamilton was that he actually paved the way for Lewis Hamilton to win all the fucking championships.
Right.
So yeah, I maybe it's just the wrong culture for him. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's culturally working. It doesn't seem like he needs, you know what? I hate to say it. I hate to fucking say it. I know people are going to be mad at me, but he needs a culture like He needs a Red Bull type of culture where they're all 100% behind him. He can't like Christian Horner. Christian Horner he can do no wrong. He's the best. Right. He's like Johnny Cochran in the courtroom. Defending him like he's never done anything wrong in his life. And he doesn't have that at Ferrari because Ferrari has like a bigger brand. Like Ferrari views themselves as, Ferrari will be here before you. It'll be here after you. Like you're just you're big, but you're just passing through to some degree.
Yeah. Which I think can happen with these big brands. Like when you have a brand that kind of like makes money and does well regardless of how shitty they are. You know what I mean? Like Ferrari doesn't necessarily need to win to stay in F1, to be profitable, to do X, Y, and Z. Like they have all this other, they're still Ferrari. It'd be nice if they had the feather in the cap of, and we won championships, but like, the larger profit structure is not actually like that dependent on it.
See, I don't actually think that's, I think what it actually, in my opinion it's like, I think it's the ownership probably, where it's like these guys, they own team, like the, who's the guy who owns it now? Oh God.
John Elkann?
Yeah, John Elkann. It's like John Elkann.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as he owns the team. He comes from the Agnelli family. It's his team. I think he's from the Agnelli family. I don't remember. Anyway, he owns the team, right? He's a big shot who owns the team. And it's very hard if you're a big shot who owns a team to just hire somebody and step the fuck back and not and just let these people do their jobs and just let the thing take its course. I mean, look at MBS, right? Look at the president of the FIA.
Yep.
He ran this huge campaign. He spent a lot of money to get to where he is. He's in this place of power, and instead of just like doing the actual job, which is like hiring the people and being a fucking referee, he's got to throw his weight around. Because if you're one of these powerful guys with an ego, unless you're throwing your weight around, like, do you even exist? Like,
well,
the best owners of sports teams, they fucking pay the people and then they step the fuck back. I mean, that's what they do.
Colin.
It's so hard. It's so hard for these guys, these egomaniacs, to just give the quote unquote Ferrari car to the guys who know how to drive it and sit at home and do nothing. They got to fucking meddle. They got to make moves. They got to make decisions. They can't just, you mean to tell me I got to hire this guy and then leave him alone for 5 years? No, they want to fire him.
This is what happened with Adrian Newey. From what all the reports are saying, that there was when it was, where's Adrian Newey going to go? A lot of people thought he was going to go to Ferrari. But Adrian Newey wanted freedom to do what he does. He wanted, hey, you don't get in my way. I get to fucking call the shots. And Ferrari was never going to let him do that. And so instead he goes to Aston Martin. Vankas, I want you to close your eyes and imagine what you'll look like 6 months from now. How's your hair looking? The same? Now picture how your hair would look if you started using Hims. If you are picturing your hair is the same as you were before, you'd be wrong. How about something thicker and fuller? Then you'd be correct. What about 3 to 6 months from now? You could pick up a new hobby and get not that good at it, or you could get Hims and start having thicker and fuller hair. Men, if you're starting to notice your hair thinning and you look in the mirror, you're not alone. Life gets much busier, and it can feel like there's not enough time in the day to do something about it. So try Hims Hair Loss Solutions. You can avoid jumping through a bunch of frustrating hoops and get access to treatment without ever leaving your home. Hims provides you with convenient access to a range of hair loss treatments that work, all from the comfort of your couch. Hims makes treating your hair loss simple with doctor-treated options and clinically proven ingredients, including finasteride and minoxidil that can regrow your hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. Choose from a personalized, chewable oral spray or serum treatments to find out what works best for you. Start your free online visit at hims.com/redflags. That's HIMS.com/redflags for your personal hair loss treatment options. Once again, hims.com/redflags. Results may vary based on studies of topical, oral, minoxidil, and finasteride. Prescription products required. An online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information.
And you know who is a hands-off fucking owner who just wrote the checks? Mateschitz.
Yeah, Mateschitz. And then he's been gone, and now it's been a mess because all these other owners want to come in and have their say and be able to point to a thing and say, look what I did. And to an extent, maybe this Lewis hiring in the first place was that ego move where it's like, okay, well, we couldn't get Adrian Newey because we're going to give Adrian Newey, he wanted too much. So fuck the car being good. Let's get the flashiest signing in F1 history, and it'll look amazing, and we'll get all the headlines, and the pictures will be fucking sick. And we fell for it. We were in the propaganda train. Lewis taking the shots outside of the house with all the red shutters, and we were all like drinking it. We were like, this is amazing. But then push comes to shove, you're actually on track. The car's nowhere, and you look like a fucking idiot. That has been what's happening.
Well, honestly, I still think from Lewis's point of view, he didn't have.
Yeah, he didn't have a ton of options with Mercedes.
Didn't have a ton of options.
They didn't really want him to still be there. But
Mercedes didn't want him.
Well, yeah, but they want him for a 1-year deal, right? They didn't want to sign him for multi-years. But
right.
At the end of the day, there's a little bit, you're not giving me the respect that I deserve, maybe. You're not giving me that, like, I deserve to have a 3-year deal here. But in desire for that confidence or that security, he's now going to be, there's a real world where next year George Russell wins this fucking WDC and Lewis is
but there was no guarantee that Lewis would have been able to hang on there until 2026.
Sure, but now it feels like a guarantee that he will not be winning that 8th championship ever. So there was a discussion there. There was I should have been treated X way, but now that 8th feels very, very, very far away. Whereas if he was in Mercedes this year and was beating George and was up there with George, let's throw Kimi in Williams. Let's give Kimi a couple more years to develop. Because guess what? Right now, it feels like that's what really should be done. I know they fast-tracked him. I don't know if that was really the smartest move here. Feels like that was actually kind of a bit quick on the trigger for that.
You think they should have white-knuckled it with Lewis till 2026?
Why not? Kimi would be 21 years old? 20 years old? Like, I'm sorry. Like, what are we talking about? He's still a fucking child. They had to go to the FIA and get special permission for this kid to race in the top team. He could have been at a Williams. He could have been at, one of these customers. He could have been at Alpine. Alpine's dying to figure out who's going to be in this second seat. Why not have it be Kimi Antonelli? Hey, you want Mercedes engines next year? Great. We'll give them to you at a big-ass discount. And guess what? You get this up-and-coming talent who everyone says is the next GOAT.
Yeah, it is kind of ridiculous when you think about it. Like, Lewis would have objectively been better than Kimi this year.
100%.
100. Like, everyone's like, well, everybody wants Kimi. He gets one pole and everybody loses their fucking mind.
Yeah.
Everybody loses their fucking mind. He has been chaotic as fuck.
Yes.
But everyone's like, but the talent. I'm like, yeah, the talent, but he's 12 years old.
Right.
He could have used it. He could have used another year in F2. He could have maybe.
He could have gone to F3 and then F2 and then been in F1. It's like they bypassed F3, brought him straight to F2. He was doing okay. I know that, the car was not as good, whatever the fuck, and he's had flashes. He's still talented, but did he need to be in Formula 1 right now? Did that really
No, they could have given Lewis a 2-year deal.
Yes.
Let Lewis slug it out in 2026 with George. Hope, and then I don't know. Yeah.
Well, okay, I mean,
it's the Kobe Bryant question. It's like, do you cut bait or you ride it till the wheels fall off? And they decided a little bit to cut bait.
Now, we don't have to discuss this for too long, but I've had the image in my brain of next year, George and Max Verstappen going head to head in a title championship. If the Red Bull can like kind of figure out some of its shit. This is full wish fulfillment because I think the Red Bull's probably not going to be great next year. But like, this title battle this year has been it's been boring so far. These McLaren boys are deathly afraid of conflict. They don't, God forbid they, get on each other's bad side in whatever way. We'll see how the year progresses. They're seemingly going to let them race. As they continue to pull ahead, hopefully we'll get some fireworks this year. But can you imagine a world where next year George Russell and Max Verstappen are going head to head, week to week? It would be the greatest thing. It would be box office.
It would be box office.
I mean, Max can't. They're fighting for fucking fourth place, and they're crashing into each other. They hate each other so much.
I just wish they could be teammates.
Yeah, then it would be.
Then
next
it would really
level.
be on. Then it would.
No,
really
that'll obviously never happen. But it is interesting, given the Max rage out that we saw. That it feels like George Russell is kind of the only person that really plays that card with Max Verstappen. That the reality is, it's what makes him great as well, that he cares so much and that he, doesn't give a fuck, whatever. But it can also be his fatal flaw. And like Lando's terrified to try to engage with that. I don't think Charles is, at times just an incident, whatever. But like George Russell's ready to like play Max Verstappen's emotions in a way that I think no one else on the grid is.
Yeah. What's interesting, it's like Leclerc is maybe a little bit like, well, I'm out of it, so what's even the fucking point? But right. George is like, I don't give a fuck that I'm completely irrelevant. I will insert myself into the A story of this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he did it last year when the car was nowhere and Max was fucking. Was it last year where he caused floor damage and Max was like trying to talk to him?
Yeah, at Baku,
and he's like, "Well, expect the same next year." And George just fucking walked off, and Max was like, "Dickhead."
Yeah. It's like, I had no grip. He goes, "It's the beginning of the. We all have no grip, mate. Mate, we all have no grip." No, I just think this is if you're going into a head-to-head battle with Max Verstappen, you gotta play his rage against him. Like that is truly his only weakness. Is that you can get him riled up,
and there's no weakness.
Then he can stop making. You can stop making. Rational decisions. He all of a sudden he turns red and he starts doing crazy shit. Like if you can get that out of him, that's the way you beat him. You use his weakness against himself.
Also, I think Max can sense fear in Lando. Like he knows that Lando's a little afraid of him.
100%.
George isn't afraid of him.
And
George is embracing the challenge.
Yeah.
Even if it's a little delusional, even if it's a little bit like, I got him, I'll guard him. It's like, dude, you're like, are you kidding me? You can't guard this guy. You're 5'4".
Yeah.
And this is like Shaquille O'Neal. But
I used to play.
He's a bit Pat Beverly. He's a bit junkyard dog.
Yeah, my sister's boyfriend in high school was like a basketball player. Played on the basketball team, like 6 foot something guy, and I was like in, I don't know, 6th grade or whatever. and very short for my age, and I would always be like, let's play one-on-one. Like, I would always play him one-on-one to try to beat him at basketball. And every now and again, like, he wouldn't really try. But there was, like, I think there was one game where, like, he wasn't trying, and I just, like, built up enough of a lead that I actually beat. And then at the end of the game, he was, like, kind of started to try, and I actually beat him, and it was, like, the greatest day of my life.
Yeah.
Because he was like, yeah, what are you, the audacity of this kid? But, like, whatever, I'll let him get a couple baskets. Then I, like, got, like, 6 in a row. We're playing to 7. And then, like, he gets it to 5, takes a 3, misses it. I go back and I get a layup, and I was like, yes! Just, the audacity of a kid who shouldn't be in that position. But that's George. I mean, there was this Reddit post going around about, people talking about in the young days of karting that apparently George was like that guy. George was like that dude. That, Lando was on Beyond the Grid last year, and Lando said that, we were racing with George, and at that point, we were nobody. George Russell was the guy. And if we ever got into a race with him, we're like, OMG, George Russell overtook me today. He's so cool. It was just so cool to be on the track with George Russell. So George, I think he carries that with him. Like, when George was young, he was like top dog. Like, it explains so much about his ethos. That, in 6th grade, he ran this shit. And he still
it's a bit Uncle Rico.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's peaked in high school vibes, but he still brings that cockiness. It's peaked in
I also
6th
think it's
grade
why
vibes.
George has such a problem with Lando's current.
Totally. That little fucker is beating me now. I hate this so much.
Yeah. Yeah, George has got a major chip on his shoulder because he was hot shit in karting.
Yeah,
he was supposed to be the Lewis replacement. Lewis doesn't retire. He's got to hang around with Lewis. And just when
the Mercedes isn't good, the Mercedes is bad.
Well,
they
stick him in Williams. They stick him in Williams for a couple of years.
Yes,
where he picks up major just. That's where I think a lot of his anger comes from, is those couple of years at Williams as 2020, Mercedes.
2020, when he could have been teammates with Lewis.
Yeah,
could have challenged for that championship.
That's when he started picking up these tics and these angry.
Yes.
That's they left. He got stranded at Desert Island for a few months, and he's just never been the same.
Yeah.
And solitary confinement vibes, and and then the second he gets to Mercedes, it's not the same, and then the second the team is his, they're like, oh, and now it's Kimi Antonelli's team, and he's never had a moment, and he feels that sort of entitlement to being the number one driver on a number one team, and
it's fucked with his narrative. It's fucked with his narrative. It's like I'm watching Love Island right now, and there's this guy on Love Island USA who's he's coupled up with this girl. They're obsessed with each other. It's day one, and she already said love you, and he's just said it. They're married, and it's been literally 48 hours is the vibe. But she has a 4-year-old daughter. She's a mom, and she hasn't told him. And they play this game where they're like, how many people have you said I love you to? And everyone's 1 or 2, and he's 10. He's told 10 women that he loves them. And the girl's freaking out about having to tell him that she has a kid. And because this guy is clearly a love bomber, this guy is clearly has a narrative. He meets someone, he puts them on a pedestal, he tells himself a story about them, and then the second the cracks start to form, no, this isn't what was supposed to happen. So it would be she just told him that he has a kid. We'll see where it goes, but I'm predicting that this is going to be this guy needs things to be perfect. And I say this because I think George Russell fell in love with the narrative of I'm the next guy. It's going to be me. I'm going to live a storybook life. Which I think a lot of young people want it. When you're young, one of the first there's a tragedy of a young person's life when you realize that what you think your life is going to be the daydream about your life is not what life is going to be. That's a really tough pill to swallow. And on some level, I feel like sometimes the earlier you swallow it, the better. And the earlier you realize that, like, what I thought my life was going to be, like, doesn't actually matter. Like, I just have to take what life, you got to play it. You got to play the cards you're dealt, not be sitting there being like, why wasn't I dealt that hand? I think that George Russell is a little bit on the, like, it's royal flush for me, baby, every time. Like, I am on my perfect route right to the top, and it's just you're right. Ever since he got stuck at Williams, they didn't bring him up early. Now it's all been kind of chaos since then.
Yeah.
And he's angry, and he hates that Max Verstappen has, like, had the life on some level that he was supposed to have.
He's watching his peers, pass him on the highway.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get off of... anything else?
And he sees himself as, like, the Prost to his Senna or the Senna to his Prost, even though it's not really what's happening
there yet. Yeah. But we'll see. I think next year might finally be his time. All right, let's do a few more news items before we get out of here. Lance Stroll is looking like, as of right now, he is planning on participating in the Canadian Grand Prix, but if his wrist is not at the appropriate level, it looks like Valtteri Bottas will be stepping in. There has been a little bit of discussion around this wrist injury from Lance Stroll. They're saying what the official statement is that it is something with the surgery that he had last year at the beginning of last season that has been building up for a while, and the pain threshold got too much. They did an adjustment to it. Then the rumors start flying around that actually after he got knocked out in Q2 when the Aston had pace, he freaked out in the garage, maybe hit something, through some type of action, re-aggravated that wrist. I'm not sure what I'm believing at this point. There's some Pravda coming out of the Aston Martin garage.
Well, we've seen snippets of him losing his temper before. We saw him kind of push his trainer, or it looked like he pushed his trainer behind the door there. He's a fascinating case, man. He's a fascinating case because it doesn't seem like he wants to be there.
Right.
Then he's got the perfect excuse not to be there. But they're still fighting for him to be there. This seems like a hostage situation.
Yeah.
It's like he's like, oh no, I hurt my wrist. I guess I can't participate. It's like, no, we're going to send you the best surgeon in the world, and we're going to get you ready, and you're going to be able to race, and it's just going to hurt now. Right. And then he hurts it again, and it's like, oh no, I guess I won't be able to. No, we're going to. It's like, it just feels like he doesn't want to be there because the results aren't coming. He's getting beaten by his teammate. Even though he's been doing better this year, he has such a contentious relationship with the media.
Oh,
because he's so hyper aware of the narrative around him, and that he's judged so heavily for the circumstances in which he's in the sport.
Yep.
And
we got a tidbit from a reporter friend of ours that the reporters play a little game with regards to Lance Stroll, which is how short will the Lance Stroll media session be? That they take bets, that all the reporters come along and they take bets as to, like, will it be under a minute and a half, because he gives one-word answers to things. The media at this point know that, like, there's no point even asking him a question because he's not even going to give you insight.
Right. Because I think he thinks, like, well, I'm like, what's the least exposure I can, like, what's the least amount I could stick my head over the parapet so I get, like, shot in the head the least amount.
Right. But it's a little bit of a Streisand effect with him in that way. It's like in his attempt to be, like, inconspicuous or for people to not pay attention. It's just like, well, why does this guy never give an answer? Like, he doesn't give any answer. Why then
he just seems
not
then he plays
to
into
him?
Like a brat,
right?
When really I think he's just like, well, they write these horrible things about me. Why should I give them more ammunition? Let me get in and out as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine he's very frustrated. I imagine that he's in a very tough. You are the coach's son in the biggest
to the nth degree, yeah.
To the nth degree. And I mean, we saw and we've seen what even when you're really good. Look at what happened to Shader Sanders. Like people like Coach Prime's son.
Yep.
I mean, he was the coach's son. He got all the advantages. He happened to be very talented as well, but they thought he was going to be the first overall pick, and then he drops down to like the third or fourth round or something.
Fifth round, yeah.
Fifth round.
Yeah.
And there were anonymous people saying like that was the worst pre-draft interview I've ever given.
Yeah.
Like I think it fucks with your head to be the coach's son at that level, for sure.
Definitely.
But I also think they're like what they really don't want. They really don't want Valtteri Bottas in there. They really don't want Nico Hülkenberg in there because God forbid Valtteri gets in there and he gets a 10th or 2/10 on Alonso, scores points. God forbid they put
the
Brazilian kid in there.
Right.
Drugovich. So they are going to wheel him out with mummy.
Yeah.
Remember when he had the mummy hands?
Yeah.
They will tape his hands to the steering wheel. They don't, and then he'll get 12th, and people will be like,
right.
"Oh my God, he was
what
so
a comeback
heroic!
drive. Yeah.
What a drive!" Because they really don't want Valtteri Bottas in there because that guy, we know that guy could qualify.
Yeah.
What if he gets it into Q3 in his first try? I mean, then it's just a nightmare for them.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
Then it'll be obvious. They'll have a real kind of case point to point to and say, so why is this kid driving this car? Even though let's not forget he is the majority of Aston Martin's points this year, but still, no, it is a bad situation over there. Venkers, this episode is brought to you by Chubbies. Summer is here, baby, which means it's officially time to let the dogs out. And by the dogs, we mean your legs, baby. I've been doing my leg raises, and my quads are literally stronger than brick, and I need everyone to see them. I'm not going to be stuck in my jeans or sweats this summer. You're going to catch me in my Line swim collection from Chubbies. Life's too short for uncomfortable swim trunks. So these babies are set up for all-day comfort with a quick-dry stretch fabric and a built-in liner that actually does its job. My new gym has a pool, and I've been rocking my Chubbies, and everyone says, "Who's that guy? He's fucking fun. He's fun. I got to hang out with him." So I'm making friends at the gym, and it's a cool, we're just broing out. And listen, I got a girlfriend, but I see the looks. The ladies love me in my Chubbies, and I say, back off! But if I was single, I'd say, let's hang out. What's going on? No more chafing, no more soggy butt, no more mesh disasters. And Chubby's biggest sale of the year is on, which means $45 bottoms, both shorts and swim trunks, and up to 65% off select gear. It's the perfect time to donate your decade-old shorts and refresh your drawer. Give your legs the summer they deserve. So don't wait. For a very limited time, shop Chubby's biggest sale of the year for $49 off and up to 65% off select gear. Hit up chubbysshorts.com and grab your favorite pair before they're gone. Miss the sale? Don't sweat it. Use our exclusive code REDFLAGS, all one word, for 20% off. Support the show. Let them know that we sent you when the survey asks, and get ready to turn some heads. Summer's here. Dress like it in Chubby's. Once again, go to chubbysshorts.com and use our exclusive code REDFLAGS, all one word, for 20% off. See ya out there, Venkas. Moving on to other news. Franco Colapinto, 5 races was the report that he was supposed to have. 5 races at Alpine. He's 3 races in. Crashes, no points. Apparently, this stall that he had at the last race
his fault
was partly his fault.
Yep.
In Spain, that he went out early, that he put the car in neutral and then was unable to get it out was unable to get the car started again. So his inability to get into the Q2 session was actually a driver error.
It's like me learning stick shift. You stall the car.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it begs the question, what is going to happen there? What is Alpine really looking for with this seat? Is it money? Is it time? There's discussion around if this is what we fired Jack Doohan for, was this really worth it? Or are we only going to give Franco Colapinto? Are we going to learn from him? Was 5 races enough for Doohan? Will 5 races be enough for Colapinto? And then what? You're going to throw Paul Aaron in for what? 5 more races?
Hell yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're going to continue to throw shit at the wall. They're going to continue to do that, but it's
spaghetti at the wall.
Flavio Briatore said, was quoted as saying, if I said now that I'm happy, I'd be lying. I'm not happy at all. Now we have to see how the season unfolds for him. Franco is very young, under a lot of pressure from all sides, not just from Argentina, but in this job, he has to be able to regain confidence as quickly as possible. So I hope he does that quickly and gets going. When asked, Briatore asked him to do 3 things: be fast, don't crash, and finish in the points. So far, he hasn't done any of that.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he's able to do that.
I don't think 5 races is enough.
Yeah.
But why? I mean, if you're just going to take money from drivers and see how they do, might as well why not see how Paul Aaron does at 5 races, and then you have then you've got data on all 3 of these guys, and then maybe you can make an informed decision, or you just fucking get Checo in there.
Yeah, I mean, crazier things have happened. They have a little bit of that Red Bull ethos. Feels like Alpine. They're just kind of like, let's throw some shit at the wall. We don't care. We're not here to nurture you. We're here to just like throw you right into the deep end, and if you don't swim, that's on you. I mean, Red Bull was looking to get Franco Colapinto into VCARB, or maybe Red Bull, but probably VCARB, because
they looked into Hadjar.
They didn't even think Hadjar was that good. They were dying to not have Hadjar in that seat.
That's right.
But then when they weren't able to make that happen, they threw Hadjar in. He crashes day 1. Marco says he's an embarrassment, and now he's looking like the rookie of the year. So they, again, have like kind of, through back channels, lucked their way into a decent driver. But, we'll see what happens with Red Bull, too, because, Yuki's obviously hasn't had the best time in that car. He's been struggling similarly to how every other driver in that second Red Bull seat has struggled, other than Daniel Ricciardo. We'll see what Red Bull does. I mean, I think they'll give him to the end of the year, but the question is, at the end of the year, if he's not showing enough, whatever, are they going to just immediately throw Hadjar into that seat? That's another question going into this year.
I think they're going to just throw Hadjar. I think they just keep it moving. They keep throwing spaghetti at the wall. I mean, they don't know any other way. They can't. That's what's a free agent signing they could make? Who's available? Who could they? I mean, they can't just stand pat with Yuki Tsunoda if he is like meh. I mean, unless he turns it around. He started out not bad, but then he just took last race or two. He just kind of took that loss. He was at that Lawson level in Spain.
Spain was tough.
Tough.
And the fact that he said, like, I don't know why I'm not fast, that is concerning as well. We'll see if our boy can turn it around, because if he doesn't, I don't know if he's going to be in this sport in 2026, which will make me very sad, and which will be very bad for our business. So
you know what it is? It's like it's a bit like when you play Madden or one of these video games and you just simulate everything. It's like it's hard for these guys to just leave it alone. Right. They got to get in there and do shit. They got to go in and make moves, and otherwise they got to manage. By manage, I mean they got to move things around. So, I think they'll throw Hadjar in. I really do. And I think it'll probably, I think the results will be the same. I have why do we think Hadjar is going to perform any differently than any of the other guys that have been thrown in there?
No, I think what
Liam
some
was really
reports
flashy
are
last year.
Yeah, and what some reports are saying is that the trap that Yuki's falling into is the exact trap that Perez fell into. It's the exact trap that everyone falls into, which is that this car is built in a way that suits Max's style, even though they want to say that it doesn't. It's just, are you going to believe what the going statement is, or your eyes? This is what it is. It's designed in a way that suits the way that Max drives, and then these other drivers come in, they try to replicate what Max does. They're unable to do it, and then their floor gets so much lower because they're shooting for that top ceiling. They actually drop their floor as well. But where if they were a little bit more okay driving in their style and their way, then maybe it would be okay. Maybe he's falling into that mentality and that way of doing it again. So he's maybe falling right into that trap that we've seen drivers time and time again fall into.
But it's interesting because when Liam got fired, Max, you remember when Max liked that post?
Yeah.
That Dutch guy made about, this is bullshit, blah, 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 blah. I think when people say, oh, this is designed for Max, I think that's an oversimplification, because I actually think if you hit Max with truth serum, I don't think Max likes driving that car. I think he can do it. I think the way he drives the car allows him to succeed with that car, but I think it's very difficult for even him to drive. I don't think he enjoys doing it.
No, the car is a mess, but I think that for years they've been designing it in a way that is built around him and the way that he likes to drive. Like the design philosophy, I think, is in coordinates with him.
Right, but I guess maybe the question is like, I think he's getting upset when they fire these drivers because in his mind, that is a lack of accountability on their part.
Right.
Because he thinks the car has problems that he has to drive around, that he doesn't like doing. Now, he can do it, but it's not like he's in there nice and cozy, like, just the way I like it.
Right. No, which Newey said as well. Newey said, like, this will have problems. We need to throw this all out in order to, like, figure it out. Like, down the line, this design philosophy will be fucked up. And they didn't change it. It's not dissimilar in certain ways to what we were talking about with Ferrari, where it's like, all this focus is on Hamilton, when the reality is the car is not where it should be, and it hasn't been for a long time. They changed 99% of it from last year's car that was competing and actually winning races. And now the car is nowhere, and even when Leclerc has an all-time performance, he's getting third at best. But the narrative is on, look at Lewis, he has a gap to Leclerc, and that's where the focus is. And his
relationship with his
relationship with his engineer, which I think is actually there's validity there, because I think that to me is a more useful conversation to be had than like, why is he slow on Leclerc. Whereas in a similar way with Red Bull, it's like the second driver. Why can't the second driver figure it out? We've seen that Alex Albon is up there, that he's a top 10 dude. We've seen that Pierre Gasly is a great driver. So the question should not be like, well, who's going to be the second guy to be able to get in there? The question really is, why can't Red Bull design a fucking car that two people can drive? That is the question. And I don't think Isaac Hadjar is the answer to that. I don't think it's a personnel issue. I don't think it's a talent issue. Very talented drivers have not been able to drive that car.
The real $64 question, which you'd love to see, is like, what would happen if you stuck Oscar Piastri in there? Like a guy is Orlando or Leclerc or George or, somebody who's been
A
established.
question that I have also is what would happen if you put Max Verstappen in a car that had wildly different characteristics to the Red Bull?
You saying would he have a Daniel Ricciardo problem?
I don't think the floor would be as low as the Daniel Ricciardo problem,
Right.
but Daniel Ricciardo was like competitive with Max.
Right.
Very competitive with Max. Went to Renault, was very competitive. And then he gets in the McLaren in that stage was an understeery car, not the drive that he was used to driving, and he's falls off a cliff.
You know what's interesting that you say that? Will Red Bull end up fucking him? Like, will he just get because it's such a specific way to drive that will Max, if he goes to another team eventually, will he not be able to adapt because he's been doing it? I read this article once about like when the guys who compete in the home run derby,
fucks up the rest of their year.
Fucks up their swing.
Yeah, yes.
Like they end up like if you win the home run derby, you go deep in the home run, you end up fucking slumping.
Yeah.
Like in the regular because you don't swing that way in a real game,
right?
And is it this sense of it's a sense like his swing is slowly but surely going to is like fucked up and like. What works in the home run derby of the Red Bull is not going to work in the McLaren. It's not going to work at an Aston Martin. It's not going to work at a Mercedes. That's a really interesting question that I don't think anybody has asked except for me just now that I just asked, not you. But no, it's fascinating because maybe like in order to be good at Red Bull, you have to like drive in such a it's like you have to learn Yiddish. And you forget every other language.
Yes.
And then you get to Aston Martin or McLaren and they're speaking English and there's no carryover.
Right.
Whereas like if you learn a Romance language, at least there's some you have something there's a basis of comparison, right? Like
I mean Max has
Spanish
been there,
to Italian or something.
Yeah. Max has been there for going on 10 years now. 10 years with like a philosophy of car.
Vettel.
And I mean, Vettel was strong in Ferrari, but it's like, I think Max is a great driver. I don't think the fall off would be as steep as Daniel Ricciardo, but I think that like, when you go to a car that has a wildly different philosophy, that this car, does completely different things. It's like learning a new language. And will Max be able to kind of like unlearn the language he's been speaking in order to learn the new language? And will he be as fluent and as good in that new language?
Well, I mean, the thing that gives you hope for Max is like he'll like take a GT3 car that he's never driven before and he'll just break the fucking track record.
Right. And he drives sims. Yeah, I think that's why he keeps himself sharp in those ways. I mean, I think that like the reality is Max Verstappen is an all-timer, but I think it is an interesting thought. I don't know if it's just a foregone conclusion that you put Max in like any car on that grid and he's going to be as great as he is in the Red Bull. I don't think that that's necessarily a foregone conclusion, especially if it's a car that has like tons of different characteristics.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for the Verstappen truthers to come after me, dude. I think he's the GOAT.
George actually turned in on him.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
I've actually seen some of those comments. I don't know if they're troll comments, but I've seen them.
Yeah. Dude, George turned in on him. What are you talking about? What about? Oh, but they put him on the hards.
They put him on the hards.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh my God.
They put him on the hards. That's why he used his car as a weapon.
That's right. Canada
Could you imagine if Lewis used his car as a weapon?
Yeah.
They put him on the hards.
He did once.
Did he use? He didn't turn into Max on purpose. He just allowed.
Yeah.
He was just like, okay, you've been running me.
Right.
I'm just not moving this time.
Right.
He didn't
He didn't accelerate. He didn't just like, and now I accelerate straight into you. We've seen Max do this in the sim. Remember, there was some clip of Max like
There's
when
a
he got
great
cut
Reddit
off.
post. There's a great Reddit post about that about when Max like ran somebody off the road.
Yeah.
And someone was like, one of these days he's going to forget that he's not in the sim and he's going to do this in real life.
Yeah.
And it's going to be crazy. And then like there was all these comments like, shut the fuck up. You probably think like video games are like bad for kids and blah, blah, blah. Like, shut up, Karen. You don't even know. Like, he's a fucking he knows the difference between sim and real life. Don't be stupid. And then like, and it was just like, mwah. And the people were commenting like, on those comments, like, where the fuck are you now? Where the fuck are you now? This person fucking nailed it.
Well, Vankas, Montreal is coming up. We will be in Montreal, so if you're there, let us know. We'll hopefully do a meetup at some point. And we got a bunch of great stuff planned for that trip, so be on the lookout in the weeks that follow. We'll do our predictions right after this, but we got to thank our daddies on the pod first. We got to thank Kayla, Robin, Jordan Texera, Jay Lingle, Spencer Grieve, Javier Mera, Sheila Valeri, Chandler, Ali Santana, Carla, Warlow, Kimberly, Huelin, Alonso My Face 69, Donya Denad, Deadbeat Daddy Muhammad, Jimmy, Kimmy, sponsored by Mommy the Pod, Vollister584, Delusional Science Fan, Kat, Future Dog Tour Dion, Steph Grossi, JB Fresh, Laura, Emily Gillenwater, Cody Hull is my F1 daddy, Branch W, Keep Up the Signs Hate, Hunter Scruggs, Salmonella, Mozzarella, I'm a Leclerc fan, and yes, it hurts. Jay Kess, George Russell is Evil Peter Parker from Spider-Man 3, Matt Edwards is always right, I wish I was Max and Danny's love child, Delaney Andrews, Henry Caskey, Miles Lewis Alexander, The Real Toto Wolf, Maggie B, Kaylee Breyer, Eve of the Y, Aaron Fiber, Devin, a.k.a. the future Dr. Sullivan's PA, Courtney Frazier, Yuki Tsunoda's other mother, Jenny is the reason I am a daddy, Megan, Aaron, Pineapple with a Y, Matt has a secret boner for Carlos Sainz. Unfortunately, it's Gary, Carolina, my name is AJ, and fuck the HOA. K-Mag can fuck smash my door any day. The official F1 race program, its executive editor, Sarah, I got tickled by the Tifosi. Hey, Jet, good luck out there. Allison Sane, Zhuge, F1 Dude Company, Trent Slickman, Code Brown, Sonoda, Jerome Ferreira, Colapinto is a fraud, Aaron, Shahid, Jeans, Rockster, Chohun, Shake and Bake, Catalick My Balls, Stay Fierce, Leclerc, Truthbringer, Mama Burns, and of course, our Daddy of the Pod this week, every week, Nicole Piastri. If you want to become a Daddy of the Pod, go to patreon.com/TRFpod. Become our benefactor today. Matt, Montreal, are you changing your prediction in any way?
Who did I predict?
You predicted Max, Oscar, and then I think Lando. You sticking with that?
Yeah, although it doesn't look like it's going to rain, unfortunately.
I'm still picking Max Verstappen to win this race. I've been saying it all year. It's too similar to the other tracks where he's had pace, but maybe this McLaren advantage will be too much with this new flexi wing ordinance that was supposed to hurt them and only made them stronger. But I still think Max Verstappen is going to take it. I still think Lando Norris is going to get second. I still think Oscar Piastri is going to get third. That is my prediction for Montreal. Until next time, Vankas.
Goodbye, Vankas.
We love you, Vankas.